Seems that a lot of people are now waking up to the realities of mass immigration and the woke mind virus in the UK, in Britain, and it's going to be a hot summer. It seems that with all these protests and these different political groups, all competing for victimhood, all competing for the limelight from the liberal media, who are all funded by people who will profit from destroying our country. They've most likely got heavy investments in the contracts to do with the government and immigration. A lot of people, a lot of private landlords who are doing HMOs, who are converting churches, who are converting different accommodation, old bed sits and stuff like that, bed and breakfast hotels are all getting converted now into HMOs because there's a guaranteed blank check coming to you from the government, and there's an unextinguishable supply of renters for you that get all their rent paid. Of course, they will wreck your house, of course, but some landlords are getting like 18 grand a month, so they don't care about the property because they've got 12 people living in it or something stupid like that down south. Now, as we can see with the city centres, the retail market has been destroyed. The property market for the retail has also been destroyed. Nobody wants to open a shop. No one can afford the capital and the rent and the upfront costs and risks to make a very slim profit when you're competing with China and all the international trade on the internet, which isn't regulated at all. It seems that right now it's almost ridiculous to assume that our economy is strong, that our economy will last. There's going to be some drastic changes, in my opinion. Who am I? Just some doldosser officially. So it doesn't really matter what I say or what you say or what anyone does. I'm just commenting on the landscape of our lives as and when it's happening. If you don't like it, then just turn off this channel. Don't subscribe, don't like, report, do whatever you want. But it's still going to come out of me because that's what life's about, isn't it? This may be a record of my thoughts at the time, and I could look back and say, you know what, I was totally wrong. England is an amazing place now, And let's get a bit more local. When we talk about Nottingham, for example, in Nottingham, they've tore down the Broadmarsh Centre. We've got hotels in the city centre full of migrants. We've got the square full of migrants. We've got open drug dealing in the city centre. Police yards away, not doing anything about it because they fear the consequences of the social media backlash from, addressing or accosting these young men. Because, of course, of their nationality or their ethnicity means it's impossible for the police to win in any scenario. If they arrest them and they come quietly, then, the courts will let them off anyway. But if they don't come quietly and the police have to use force, then every single officer there is going to be under scrutiny. As we saw in Manchester, they are not allowed to put hands on anyone, even if they put hands on you. It's a ridiculous state of affairs in England, even for the individual citizen. I was jumped the other day by a few lads, didn't really... luckily do that much damage to me, but it was rather shocking. A few lads ran up to me. One of them had his hands down his pants like he's got a knife. He's always been threatening me with a knife, this, that and the other, and it's like, what do you do about it? What, do you ring the police about it? I rang the police about it. You know what the police said? Go to the hospital, and if it's something serious, then ring us back. I was like, what? How do I know if it's serious now? Aren't you going to come? Like, no, can't come today. All right, cool. It's like, I didn't even bother following any of it through. There's no point. There's literally no point in the police anymore. And I think that the streets are going to get more and more dangerous, and a lot more, God-fearing, good people who obey the law and want to live nice, happy, polite and clean, tidy lives in an organised and non-toxic way are going to be in for some grief, because there's now an increasing amount and part of society that don't want to be part of the society that we all agree to. The social contracts are no longer valid. Everybody's reneged on their contract. It's no longer about England. Oh no, we are not allowed to be for England. We are not allowed to accost anyone's behaviour. Anyone's customs can run here. Anyone can go here and sell drugs and intimidate people, or set up a brothel or grow weed, or anyone can do anything they want. They can set up a money front, do whatever they want. They can run people over, they can smuggle people, they do whatever they want, because the police aren't going to do anything about it at all. And even if they do something about it, the courts are going to let them out within a few months anyway, or give them suspended sentences. We've seen people with machetes and knives and people stabbing people. The other day there's a woman who stabbed a man, and she was let off with community service for stabbing someone in the street. Like, the state of England is ridiculous. We either need to build more prisons, okay, have a stronger community of good citizens defending each other, or we need to just turn to criminals ourselves. I don't see there's any solution for these problems at the moment. There is no law and order in the streets. There's open drug dealing. There's places and streets that everybody knows that bad things are happening there, and every single day there's bad people carrying knives in these areas, like Nadia Whittome, our local Labour MP, champion of Gaza and everybody else's problems but ours. There's bins and rubbish and rats everywhere around her area in Hyacinth Green and St Anne's and wherever the hell she's meant to be covering. All these sort of areas that these people are supposed to be covering are shitholes. They are full of litter, they're full of criminals, they're full of beggars, they're full of crackheads, full of dealers, full of cars with blacked out windows. There's full of just so much blind eyes being done in the city. It's just disgusting. The city is a shithole. You know what I mean? And so I think that from now on, rather than interviewing people, because I don't really care what anybody thinks anymore, after speaking to so many idiots, I don't care anymore what anybody thinks anymore. I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that from now on, when I go into the city centre, I'm going to spend my money and I'm going to get some people who are, needing some money or begging. I'm going to get them to clean up the streets and pay them to do it or something like that. Set up a new channel where it's just basically just kicking arse in the world, because I'm really tired of, tolerating all these people who think that they've got the right to stop me in the street, or they've got a right to be brandishing knives or threatening people. And they really haven't got the right, because if it was turned around on them, the first place that they would go would be the police. The first place that they would turn to would be the police if they were met with somebody like themselves. And that's what happens 9 times out of 10. They only seem to want to attack people who aren't like them, who aren't, aggressive, who aren't, down for the fight. They're the people that the society's letting down right now. The old people, the children, the women, the young girls, even the men that just want to live legal lives and they don't want to have to, have a fight in traffic, in road rage. There's people riding around on motorbikes every single day in Nottingham. They're doing channels on Instagram. They do whatever they want. The whole world has got no law and order whatsoever. And so everybody's scared. And so everybody's walking around not trusting anyone. There's a very low value of trust now in the world. It's because nobody knows anyone anymore. As we found out in Nottingham, you can walk on the street with people who have come from places where they've murdered people. They've come from places where they've served in the army against our country, and we don't even know that. And they're in our country, and we're looking after them, and we don't even know what their history is, whether they were working for the Taliban or not. We don't know. They were working for the army or the Taliban or whoever they were working for. We don't know. All we know is that they aren't bringing any wife and children over until they've established themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with coming to a better country. There's plenty of people in this country that are not from this country that are better than the people in this country. I'm not trying to say that just because you're not from this country you're automatically bad, or just because you don't look like us you're automatically bad. But there is a very large amount. I think it was something like 60 or 70% of the immigration to England was Islamic origin. Muslims basically. And I've got no issue with Muslims at all, except the fact that when they feel that one is threatened, or whether they're threatened or not, they all act without even talking, Like we've seen with this Manchester issue. We've seen some lads punch up some people in an airport. Like any other country in the world, you would be shot, or at the very least you'd be gun-butted. At the very least you'd be battered. At the very minimum you'd be battered, because it's a very high tense situation. And so these lads think it's okay to punch police officers and think they're bigger than the law, and then their whole community comes out and backs them because he was kicked in the head by a policeman. This guy's just flawed 3 people. I know he was definitely unarmed and he was definitely no threat to anyone in the position he was in. So I do think the police should get some sort of punishment for that, whether it's the sack or whatever. That's down to the independent committee. But don't try and proliferate or try and propagandize this situation into anything racial or anything other than those individuals' conduct. And I find it very enlightening how everybody who's really secretly against us comes out every time. But like Tommy Robinson said, they weren't out there when their community was raping young white people. They weren't out there supporting anybody else. And we're supposed to care about their situation. It goes both ways. Okay, I've got no sympathy whatsoever for the guy who got kicked in the face. Not one bit, not one little bit. He was acting very inappropriately in a very high, tense situation where his life was at risk. And if it wasn't a taser, it would have been a bullet. So he's lucky that he only got a kick. Like with me, when I got jumped by those lads the other day, I was lucky I didn't get stabbed. I was lucky I didn't get kicked in. I said, look, lads, I'm going to have to ring the police. What are you doing? And they stopped. So at least some people got respect for the police. So thanks to them lads for not doing me in. But I'm just saying, in general, they had no fear of doing it, did they? It was even on camera. It's like people nowadays have got no fear or consequence for anything. They're just all acting like little babies with their emotions. And they think that it's okay to just have a tantrum and get what you want. Well, it's fucking not.